Sometimes I wonder, how does an animated Spider-Man movie feel more real than live-action ones with actual human actors? I know it sounds absurd on the surface. Real faces, real cities, real action, that should feel more alive. And yet, Into the Spider-Verse does something none of them quite manage. It moves like a living, breathing idea. Because what if the life in storytelling was never about realism at all, but about expression? Let's break down what the Spider-Verse does right that makes them so much more alive than live action. Live-action superhero films have always chased realism. Real textures, real lighting, grounded physics, and even comic-accurate characters. Everything in these movies is meticulously designed to make the world feel believable. And for a long time, that worked. It grounded characters, made stakes feel tangible, and allowed audiences to immerse themselves in something familiar. But what if I tell you realism comes with a limitation? It smooths things out. Movements become polished. Visuals feel larger than life. Emotions become subtle. Everything is designed to look right, even though it doesn't always feel right. Into the Spider-Verse reject that philosophy completely. Instead of focusing on achieving maximum realism, it leans into stylization. It doesn't ask you if this looks real, it asks you if this feels alive. And that little shift changes everything. One of the first things you notice when you see the Into the Spider-Verse film is how different it feels from traditional animated movies. The movie purposely uses lower frame rates for certain characters, especially Miles early on. His movements feel slightly off, slightly delayed, and almost clumsy. And that's not a mistake by the animators. It's storytelling. Miles Morales doesn't move like Peter Parker at the beginning because he isn't Spider-Man yet. His body language, his posture reflects his uncertainty, lack of rhythm, and struggle to find his identity. As he grows into the role, his animation becomes smoother, more confident, and more fluid, showing how he's gradually becoming Spider-Man. The great thing about animation is that it evolves with the character, which the live action struggles in because the actors are bound by physical consistency. You can't make someone move wrong on purpose without it looking unnatural. But with the animation, you can use imperfection in your storytelling. And that's why every movement in the Spider-Verse isn't just motion, it's emotion. But animation alone isn't the reason why Into the Spider-Verse feels more aligned. It also needs the colors. Color in live-action films is often used to enhance realism and define the tone of the movie. It supports the environment, sets the mood, but rarely does it become the language of the story itself. In Into the Spider-Verse, color is the language. Each character in the movie has a distinct visual identity. Miles is surrounded by bold, graffiti-style palettes, reds, blues, neon accents which reflect his artistic background and chaotic internal state. Gwen, on the other hand, moves through softer, pastel tones that feel fluid and introspective. Spider-Man Noir exists in a stark black and white contrast, literally pulled from a different visual identity. These aren't just aesthetic choices, they're psychological ones. The world bends around each character to match and fit their energies. Even emotional moments are amplified through color. When Miles takes his leap of faith, the city isn't just a backdrop of his moment, it becomes his canvas of inverted visuals, glowing lights, and surreal motion. The colors don't reflect reality, they reflect what it feels like to finally believe in yourself. Live action can enhance emotional moments with color grading, but it's still tethered to physical constraints. Spider-Verse breaks those constraints entirely, turning color into pure expression. While color and animation gives the Spider-Verse some serious advantage over the live-action movies, it's the comic book-like feel that truly does it for the movies and fans. Another reason Into the Spider-Verse feels alive is because it doesn't hide its comic book origins. It embraces them. On-screen text appears as thoughts. Panels break the frame. Sound effects like BAM exist visually. Background shifts between halftone dots and sketch-like textures. These type of elements shouldn't work in a traditional film, but here, they work like magic. This is because the movie understands something fundamental. Spider-Man isn't just a character, he's a medium. His identity was born in the comic books, where exaggeration, visual storytelling, and stylization are part of the experience. Instead of translating Spider-Man into realism, Spider-Verse translates realism into Spider-Man. And the result? A world that feels constantly in motion, not just physically, but artistically. Every frame looks like it's being created in real time, like the story itself is alive and evolving. One of the strongest aspects of Into the Spider-Verse is how it treats imperfections. Unlike traditional films that aim at delivering a polished and almost real-life experience, Spider-Verse thrives on imperfections. Miles isn't a polished hero. He's just a kid who's awkward, unsure, and constantly failing at almost everything he does. His suit doesn't fit him right. His swings are messy. His landings are off balance, and he doesn't have that superhero-like charisma. And the film doesn't try to hide this from you, it highlights them. Live-action films often present heroes as refined versions of themselves. Even when they struggle, there's a level of composure, a sense that they're in control. Spider-Verse, on the other hand, does the opposite. It allows its characters to be themselves, be incomplete, and grow in front of your eyes to make them feel more human. They don't feel more human because they look real. They look real because they act real. And that's exactly why you get the feeling of realism while watching the movie. Another reason why Spider-Verse feels so alive is its willingness to exaggerate emotions. Facial expressions stretch beyond realism. Movements are amplified and feel more grand. The reactions are bigger, sharper, more immediate, and sort comic bookish. In live-action movies, actors often rely on subtlety, a pause, a glance, a slight shift in tone, some intense expressions here and there. And while that can be powerful, it can also create distance because you, the audience, has to interpret what it meant. In Into the Spider-Verse, emotion is direct. The makers don't want you to interpret what they meant. They want you to feel it. When Miles feels overwhelmed, the world around him distorts significantly. When he's confident, everything aligns and goes his ways. When he's afraid, his body language shrinks. The film doesn't just show emotion, it becomes it. This creates a stronger connection with the audience because there's no barrier between what the character feels and what you see. The emotion isn't hidden, it's projected. Movement in live action is often constrained by physics. Gravity, momentum, and practical limitations shape how characters move. Animation doesn't have those limits. In Spider-Verse, movement is expressive rather than realistic. Characters stretch, compress, and flow in ways that reflect their personalities. Swinging through the city isn't just action. It's rhythm, style, identity. Miles' early swings feel chaotic and uncontrolled. Later, they become smooth and confident. The difference isn't just technical, it's emotional. You can feel his growth through the way he moves. The infamous leap of faith scene captures this perfectly. The camera flips, the city rises instead of falls, and Miles doesn't look like he's dropping. He looks like he's ascending. That's not realism, that's storytelling. Live-action Spider-Man films have achieved incredible things. They've delivered emotional arcs, grounded characters, and memorable performance. From Tobey Maguire's OG Spider-Man to Andrew's Amazing Spider-Man and Tom Holland's MCU Spider-Man, the live-action movies have given us some crazy moments. But they're limited by reality. They have to obey physics. They have to maintain visual consistency. They have to balance spectacle with believability. And they have to keep it real. Spider-Verse movies, on the other hand, doesn't have those constraints. It can distort reality to match emotion. It can break visual rules to express identity. And it can prioritize feeling over accuracy. And that freedom allows it to create something that feels more alive. Not because it's more realistic, but because it's more honest in how it portrays emotion and growth. Into the Spider-Verse doesn't try to replicate reality, but it doesn't have to. It creates its own version a version where one imperfection is strength, individuality is celebrated, and emotion drives every decision. It reminds us that being alive in storytelling isn't about how closely you mirror the real world. It's about how deeply you manage to make the audience feel it. So here's the real question. Would you rather watch something that looks real or something that feels real? Comment down your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed today's episode, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the Multiverse Index for more Marvel and DC breakdowns, deep dives, and theories like this.